So we are officially live. Jim Rowley, CEO of Crunch Fitness. Welcome to Athletech Unscripted. I'm joined by my co-host, Eddie Hertzman. My name is Eric Malzone, and very excited to have you. Thank you for making the time. January is, of course, a very busy time for all gym businesses, and it's just exciting to have you. So I think the first question, we're just going to dive right into it, Jim, because you're a wealth of knowledge and experience, but give us some insights on 2023. How was it for you and the Crunch franchise business?
Yeah, 2023 was, I would say it was a better than good year. We opened on average one gym per week. We smashed all of our revenue records. Of course, records become really less important because you keep opening gyms, right? You've got more gyms to generate revenue and profit and everything else. But I'd say we were proud of the year. It wasn't easy. Nothing in our industry is easy. So it was a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication from the team and our franchise owners. Our franchisees really stepped up to the plate in 23 and committed to opening gyms, and we're happy with how it went. We're also happy it ended because there were a lot of headwinds in 23.
So, Jim, January is notoriously like this big push. Let's get into the gym. Everyone's got their New Year resolutions, but we're now inundated 365 with health, wellness, fitness content. They need to be healthy. Is it still a critical period for you? Are you seeing people join the gym every single month? I mean, is it changed?
Yeah, it's a great question, Eddie, because as much as I hate it, like, the resolutions in January and get ready for the storm and everything else, I've always felt like there's a level of consistency across the months in the first quarter. Like February is generally a very good month. March is, I say that January is March's bitch because March can be the biggest month of the year if you plan appropriately. But look, we sold a lot of memberships last January, and I was looking at the stats this morning, preparing for this call. We're going to sell more memberships than we've ever sold in our history this January. So it happens. It's a credit to the media. The media doesn't have anything to talk about that's interesting, right? So what do every January? Let's talk about New Year's resolutions and everything else. And then half the people are like, hey, resolutions are bullshit. And then the other half are like, no, let's talk about it. Let's pump it up. So, look, we're here every day but Christmas. That's the only day we're closed. So we're always welcome to those that has said, I'm ready to join today.
And do you have any, Equinox obviously has their publicized take on it. How do you guys approach January specifically? Is there any tactics that you guys use to get to it this year?
I wouldn't say we're any more or less tactical than we are in July or August or September, to be honest with you. We spend a little bit more money because we know that the mind share is there. So we dedicate more marketing dollars. We launched a new campaign this year. It says, feel good, not bad. And it's really about, turn on any media outlet, whether it's social media, traditional media, the New York Times, whatever, right? We're inundated with just this level of crises everywhere. And everything is negative. The political infighting, the wars that are going on in Europe, the wars that are going on in the Middle East, just the insurrection that's happening. So we're inundated with all this negativity. And I told the marketing team, can we do something about the benefits of exercise and how good that makes you feel? Because even your worst workout makes you feel better than no workout at all, right? So they came up with this whole campaign about feel the good, not bad, feel the good at Crunch. And they made it silly because it's got to be silly to be memorable. They created a little tension because tension is good with advertising. But really it's about come into Crunch and just feel good. Feel good about yourself. Feel good about your health. Feel good about your socially, right? These gyms are really hyper-connected. It's a 3-mile radius of basically where everybody does their shopping, their coffee, their restaurants, and their gyms. So we want you to socialize with your people, your community. So that's the goal. And, I've seen all the other ads. Everybody's chasing price and, hey, look at the equipment we have in the gym and everything else. I said, can we just break through from that? Because I think workouts feel good. You never want to go. You never want to go but you're always happy you went.
Yeah.
So Jim, I get, we understand the benefits of working out. Well, I think the CDC said like less than 28% of Americans are by definition fit. So clearly we don't have most of our peers are not going to the gym. Right. And I want to understand a little bit of the business here because, in my seat every single day, there's another franchise concept. There's another boutique opening. Someone is buying the rights to 10 locations, 5 locations. Pre-pandemic, there was a big push for these classes, big push for these boutiques. Then we had the at-home. Has that impacted the crunch business, the big box business? Are you seeing a return to the gym, or this is just noise you don't even pay attention to?
You're talking to a guy who pays only attention to crunch, right? People have to tell me what everybody else is doing because, to be honest with you, Eddie, I don't give a shit. I've seen so many of these things come in and go out and come in and go out over the last 32 years that if I focus on that, it takes my attention away from my team, takes it away from my company, my franchise owners, and everything else. We are purpose-driven. We are purpose-built. We know who our member is. We're trying to meet their member where their expectations are. And, it's laughable to me, all these guys who come out and say, I've created the newest, X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay, where are they all? You guys have been around. Where are they? They're not, they don't exist.
Well, it's hard. Look, I've said this a lot. These are not publicly traded companies. It's very hard. They're privately held. It's hard to get information. So look, we talk to them every single day, but I respect what you're saying. But where I want to push back is, are you saying that you got a team, they're going out, they're selling franchises. Have you not seen anyone say, well, maybe I don't want to open my 5th crunch location. I want to open a restore, a wellness facility. Maybe I want to do a Pilates studio, or is it no?
No, we don't really see that. Our people are focused on it. What we do see is, look, here's the reality. It's much harder than what people are making it look like, right? So we're all fighting for the same real estate. Everybody wants to be at Main and Main, pay the lowest price, have the best landlord, the greatest parking lot, the highest ceilings, right? There's not a great point of differentiation between that. It's harder to find the great real estate. It's more expensive now. Imagine if I told you 5 years ago, hey, welcome to Crunch, you're a franchisee. It costs about $2.5 million to build a Crunch. And now you flash forward, you're like excited, you build your business plan, you're working against those metrics. And now all of a sudden, the real estate price is up 30%. The construction price is up 30%. And oh, by the way, you used to be able to borrow money at sub 2%. Now it's almost 7%. So everything has changed. That hasn't changed just for Crunch. That's changed for everybody. So what we've tried to do really at Crunch is make sure that our franchise owners are having incredible success with Gym 2, Gym 3, Gym 4, really concentrated on that. So they're reaping the benefits. They're getting the profits necessary to instill the confidence to open Gym 5, Gym 6. But look, the reality is we've got to be more practical. We've got to be more careful. There's more competition. We're all fighting for the same employee, right? It's basically everybody in the gym is about 24 years old. They're generally fitness enthusiasts, or they're working another part-time job, or they're going to school. So we're fighting for that same person. Member service, customer service in America has dissolved over the last 10 years. We see that everywhere. So how do you find that right employee for your brand? Because our brand is very soulful. We build it on culture. So we need to align with this Gen Z or Gen Y and get them to buy in. So there's a lot happening. So anybody who tells you it's easy and I'm killing it and I'm going to sell 1 million franchisees, it's hard work done by determined people. And we're lucky to be finding some success. But again, I think it's more than just the hyperbole of what we say in the headline. That story of the duck that's just swimming along the pond and just looks so graceful, and underneath the feet are going 1,000 miles an hour, right? And that's what it feels like most days. But look, I'm not bitching. I've been doing this for 32 years, and this is the best company I've ever worked with.
Jim, I mean, we look back at 2023, and every year in review I've done or been part of, everyone talks about going into next year, the difficulties that you mentioned, right? Real estate, just CapEx, everything like that. But one of the big opportunities that people seem to be eyeballing the most is GLP-1. And I mean, a lot of your larger competitors are adopting those programs in-house. Where does where is it sitting on your radar right now? What are your thoughts overall on it? Are you guys going to look to leverage that at all in 2024?
I'm not a doctor. I don't work for the FDA, but I read. I'm trying to consume as much information as I can. Here's what's confounding me. We have more information than we've ever had on the benefits of exercise. We have more information than we've ever had on the benefits of a nutritious diet. We have more information than we've ever had on the benefits of sleep. We even have an Oura ring you can wear to measure your sleep, right? So we have we're inundated with all of this information, and I think people are consuming it. And what do we know? We're more obese than we've ever been. We're more tired than we've ever been. We're more caffeinated than we've ever been. We've got more gyms than we've ever had. I don't know how many, 40,000 some odd gyms in the US now. So we have everything at our fingertips. And what are we still doing? We're searching for the magic pill. I don't think it exists. And I'm not trying to be cheeky here, but what this reminds me of is, remember the college admissions scandals when the rich and powerful in LA and Hollywood said, oh, it's not the front door or the back door, it's the side door. And you come through this door and you get your kids in who didn't do the work, who weren't qualified for those programs, but they found an access point to get their kids into the college. Well, what were the repercussions of those people who got caught? They went to prison, right? It was terrible. It was terrible. And imagine even the child who knew when they looked at their peer group, I don't deserve to be at USC, but I got in, and this person who worked their tail off didn't. I kind of look at these drugs the same way. They weren't created for this purpose. They were created for those that have diabetes, right? Again, I'm not an expert. So I look at it and I say, okay, what are we hearing now? Well, we just heard 2 weeks ago, a young woman passed away because there was something about her inability to metabolize the drug. And again, I'm not pointing fingers at anything here, but what are we going to learn in a month? What are we going to learn in a year? What are we going to learn in 3 years? And here's the other thing. They're already coming out saying it causes muscle wasting. It causes muscle waste. So you're losing weight, but then you become what we call in the industry skinny fat, right? So you've lost the weight, but you're not strong. Strong is what we want to be. So we're seeing some doctors actually recommending go join Crunch before you start, create the regimen, the healthy regimen of working out, continue to work out at Crunch afterwards so you prevent the muscle waste. You've got to build muscle. And what are we learning about muscle? We're learning more now than we've ever learned about the benefits of muscle. Offsetting osteoporosis, defeating cancer, helps with heart disease, everything else. And I love what we're seeing. Our trend at Crunch, look, almost 60% of our members are under the age of 34, between 18 and 34. 60%. What are we learning? The women want to be strong. They're tearing up our Olympic weightlifting platforms. We used to have 0, then we had 2, then we had 5. Now we're opening with 20 of these things because women want to be strong. They want to be powerful.
Do you have to change the floor because of that?
Athletic, right? So we're meeting them where they are. We're putting more and more of these in. And I think this idea around building muscle is finally starting to take hold, even though we're seeing trends where calisthenics are back, floor work is back. I mean, there's all these crazy things that are happening. And what does that tell you? Well, everybody's looking for that kind of the easiest path. And after 32 years of doing this and 40-some years of working out, there's no substitute for hard work. There isn't.
Well, I'm just concerned about the liability behind all this. I think it's to your point, if you go to a doctor and they say, go to the gym before, take the shot, go to the gym after, okay. But if people are going to start making this part of their business, to your point, a 24-year-old can't administer this. Are people going to be passing out on the floors because they don't like it scares me that indirectly or directly, if you start prescribing this or pushing this on people and you don't know what it can potentially do, like you said, also the cost of insurance has gone up a lot. And so liability insurance is very expensive. We don't need any unforced errors in these businesses. That's a red flag for me. So I'm curious to see how people.
I think you nailed it. And what if the drug doesn't cause the problem? What if there's an injection site infection because it wasn't done properly. I don't want to live in that world. And like I said, there's no substitute for hard work. There never has been. You've got to put in the effort. I also think that the effort is what creates the reward, right? That when you do the work, it's so good for your mind. It's good for your mental health. I think it's good for you socially to be in the gym and working out amongst your peers and pressing and sweating and doing all those things. And what we're not going to know that you took a GLP-1 drug to lose all that weight. We're not going to know that you shortcutted the system. How satisfactory is that mentally, right? And if your mental health is so fragile that you can't put in the work, but you're like, oh, I'll take this injection and it'll be the miracle. I worry about the fragility of those people making that decision as well. So, and look, it's not lost on me. It's not easy. We all
allow me to offer a counterpoint to that, because I've been looking at this quite a bit and talking to a lot of people about it. If medically supervised correctly, and I don't know if that's the place, a gym is the place to do that or not. That's not for me to say. We'll probably find out this year. But we talked about the obesity issues in this country, the 80% that generally don't go to the gym. What if this offers a catalyst for them to start working out? What if it's that little bit of change, right? Because we don't live in a natural world. So a lot of things we do are unnatural. So what do you say to that? I mean, could this be the opportunity to get access to that population we just haven't got to? I mean, you've seen it over 32 years. We just haven't got to them, Jim.
How much does it cost for a pen or for a month's worth of GLP-1 drugs?
Oh, I think it's like $1,200 a month now, something like that.
It's 10 years of crunch on our base membership. 10 years. So how many people could even afford this?
Right? Well, look, there has been, Eric, there's been a lot of articles and we've cited them, we've read them, that says, look, it typically has been people that go to the gym have gone to the gym or go to the gym or at one point have gone to the gym. So how do you get that other 75 or 80% out? What you're saying, and people have said this, is if someone is very insecure, they're obese, they don't feel comfortable going to the gym, for lack of a better term, they feel embarrassed, right? Or maybe they can't afford a personal trainer. If they get that quick fix, that maybe will give them the confidence to then go into the gym. That is a thesis that is out there. Whether that proves true or not, I don't know. But there's been plenty of articles that are saying.
I love it, but is it a thesis or is it a selling tactic, right? Is it to push?
It's more of a hypothesis. We don't know. It's
Look, I mean, again, I'm not even pointing the finger at my industry colleagues who said, we're going to administer it. I'm like, okay, you guys have probably done the business plan. You've thought about all the ramifications and everything else. I'm just saying, for me, it's like, we've got a population that can afford it. They're going to jump on this quick fix to lose weight. And now we've got a population of the industry who's like, I'm going to make a quick buck because I'm going to sell it as well. It's just not how we operate. It's not part of our business model. Our business model is to allow anybody, we have no judgments, we're the original no judgments gym, to work out in a crunch facility for a fair price, okay? If this encourages more people to exercise, fantastic. If it helps people gain the confidence because they've lost some weight to go to a gym, fantastic, right? I hope for all of those things. What I'm saying is, I'm 56 years old. I've never seen an easy way out. I never have. I was a U.S. Marine for 8 years, right? Served all over, 17 countries in 8 years.
Wow.
Never saw an easy way out, right? Now I've been in the fitness industry. I started at the very bottom. I was a rookie sales guy. I had white pages and a dial-up phone to call people to join the gym. No one's ever said, hey, there's a much easier way to do this, right? It has never existed. I've also started to read that the bounce back on Ozempic, when you've come off of it, right, is what? Just like every other diet. You go back to your previous weight, and then from there you can even add another 10 to 20% of where you were when you started. So,
but Jim,
just talking to a guy who's a gym guy who's got an opinion. I'm not an expert on this. I don't know.
But this could be said for anything. Like, look, you started out by saying the gym business is a difficult business, right? And you got headwinds that are making it more difficult. Social media is romanticized even entrepreneurship. Shark Tank has turned everyone into quit your job and here's the next big thing. It's hard. Oh, I want to have my own your own schedule. There's no schedule. You say Christmas is off? I was working Christmas. Like
Right.
there is no such thing. So like the media has completely changed the perspective on all this. Like there's no the 4-hour work week. I laugh. I say, you know who made work? The guy made money writing the book.
Right.
Like I don't know anyone that works 4 hours a week and is remarkably successful. Like I get it. 20 years down the road, you have passive income. I understand the thesis, but let's go back to you made a comment that, more and more women are strength training. You're putting more and more machines in there. When you're opening a new location, is the floor different today? Are you having to go back to some of your other locations and change the floor around?
Yes and yes, right? So we're designing what we're calling Crunch 2.1. So every 5 years or so, we evolve the workout floor and the equipment and so forth. So what we've seen is a dramatic reduction in cardio equipment, right? So 10 years ago, we were building gyms with 100 pieces of cardio between bikes and step mills and treadmills and everything else. I bet it's down to less than 50 at this point. It might even be lower. And the irony is we pay so much money for these gyms on $1 per square foot. And guess what the members want? Open space, right? They want open space. They want floor space because they want to do their band work, their ball work, their kettlebell work. They want to prop up their YouTube video, their Instagram influencer, whatever. So we're having to open up more space. I have them doing it there than in a park somewhere or a parking lot with some trainer who now says he's the next, guru or whatever. It's a safe environment. It's a clean environment. And again, it's around your peers. Let's socialize. 3 years of being locked down. Let's socialize. Let's meet our neighbors. Let's see the same people we see at the grocery store, the movie theater, the pizza parlor. Let's see them at our local gym. I think that's critically important. I think it's good for our mental health. So yes, the gym has changed. So,
if you look in your crystal ball, though, in 5 years from now, if I'm talking to you, Jim, I don't know, maybe we'll be in like VR or the metaverse when we're doing this call. But are you going to be saying, "Oh, Eddie, now everyone wants to be a stick, like a stick figure. Everyone wants to do cardio. Everyone wants to look like the 1990 runway model, and the floor's change." Like, is this permanent, or are we redefining the definition of beauty and fit and healthy, or is this a trend? The equipment manufacturers and that are selling strength are going to win. The cardio guys are going to cry for a couple of years, and in 5 years, the cardio guys are going to win, and everyone's selling, a dumbbell is going to cry.
Yeah, it's the perfect question for an industry guy because these patterns and trends have gone on. And I started in 1992, right, 32 years ago, and it was high cardio, group fitness, like 100 people in a class. Everybody's wearing these tights, and you're just going crazy. I remember in our first gyms, you had to sign up to get on a treadmill. You had to sign up. You had to wait. People be standing behind the treadmill, and the person on the treadmill is like, "I'm almost done," or like, "Leave me alone," right? There was tension and fighting in the cardio room and everything. And now here we go. Nobody wants to do cardio. So yeah, this is a trend. It's going to bounce back. I had the same feeling that you just said. I'm like, oh God, are we going to go back to, I want to look like Cindy Crawford in the 90s? Is that the next big thing? Are we going to be wearing neon like in the 80s back in the gym? Like what's the trend? So we try to stay at the tip of the spear. We try to look around the corner as much as we can. I can tell you right now, it's strong. Women want to be strong. Men want to be strong. The one thing that's never changed, ever, dumbbells, barbells. They are the same product, basically, that we had 50 some odd years ago. So that's still there. But I look, it's what makes this industry cool too, because you have to evolve with the trends and the needs of the members.
It's also a business. It's a business. I come from the fashion industry. First, it's a skinny jean. Then it's a dark wash. Then you got to change it every couple of years. What are you going to do? You're going to sell one jean forever? Everyone likes to say that. But, okay, what we haven't talked about is Group X. Now, I know the guys over at CR Fitness. I know they're a great group of they all have a bunch of crunches, super successful group of guys. They talk about Group X being a great way to build community. They say it's great for business. What's Group X's role in all of this? Are people coming to the gym and they're signing up for Zoom classes?
Our guys at CR are, they're our biggest and arguably our best franchise owners. They're doing incredibly well. We don't call it Group X, we call it Group Fitness, but Group fitness it's interesting because it was incredibly popular going into the COVID lockdowns. Like we were building hot yoga rooms, we were doing ride studios, we were building our studios, our group fitness studios bigger and bigger. We had hit zones inside. And then right after we came back from COVID, man, we were down probably 75% in attendance. Like it was just, everybody was, I think, cautious not to go back into a room and, the whole respiratory thing and everything else. So it's been interesting. What's happening now is there's a lot of momentum behind it. Like a lot of people are coming back, but they're being very specific about their classes that they want to take, but there's such a high versatility with group fitness. We're all over the board. We're doing breath work. We're doing meditation. I went to my team and said, I want a class for guys like me, 56 years old, been lifting weights, can barely touch my toes because everything is so tight, right? Had to start doing Pilates just to limber myself up. And I said, I want a class called Old Man Stretch Club because I think old men need to be stretching more, right? So we don't tear our hamstrings and everything else. So we got stretching, breath work, meditation, and then we have high intensity workouts where you're working like a pro athlete almost, right? Getting that high cardio up. So we're all over the board. I would say for us, kind of the spin craze, which we call ride, that hasn't come back. We're kind of seeing the same trends that the Soul Cycle guys and everybody else are seeing. But group fitness, again, you get an amazing instructor who's like an artist in front of you, who knows all the choreography. The music's amazing. You put yourself through the paces for 30, 45, 50 minutes. You get a kick-ass workout. It's fun, right? And at Crunch, all of our stuff, we created. Other than Zumba, we created. It's proprietary, unique, choreographed to us. We're not buying it from that group, down under and having the same class for everybody else. So, we love group fitness. But to be honest with you, I've got a great leader, both on my own side and on my franchise side. Hyper creative, like artistic in the way they think about things. And so we talked earlier about trends and staying ahead of things and everything else. That's one where it changes quarterly. Yeah. Right? Like you've got to really be on top of it.
Jim, correct me if my numbers are wrong here, but what I researched this morning was 450 locations over, 7 countries. The question I have for you is give us a little insights onto the numbers of the business, but also if we're doing this next year, next January, right, and you're really happy with the way things have gone, what does 2024 look like to you in your mind, and where do you think you guys will be next year?
Yeah, your numbers are close. We're north of 4. I guess my big, hairy, audacious goal, my BHAG, I'd like to open two gyms a week this year, get to 110 gyms. If I opened 80, I'd be happy. If I opened 100 plus, I'd be ecstatic. I've got insight into how many leases we've got signed already. I'm stoked. I know we're going to open more gyms than we did last year, and we did 1 a week last year. We take great pride. Look, it's this interesting thing, right? Because who's creating this success? The brand, the franchisor, or the franchise owner, right? Where does the success come from? And what I've devolved that down to is it's got to be that perfect harmony, that blend, that they both have a respect and admiration for what each other are providing to the system, right? So we're just trying to build more strength and confidence in our franchise owners who maybe aren't as big and well capitalized as CR, right? So I call it the middle of the pack. I'm looking at the guys that, they're not just getting started, but they're not as big as CR and Fitness Holdings and Hartle's Group, Undefeated Tribe, and everything else. They're kind of in the middle. How do we get that middle just to believe and have the same confidence and the same drive as the big guys do? So that's what we focus on. Look, it feels like a big company some days, and it feels like a small gang of fitness badasses who are just trying to do the best they can on other days, right? So it's really interesting. We try to have that complement with our franchise owners, and we know it's hard. That's the other thing. We're not like, oh, just sign the paperwork, sign up for 10 gyms, it'll be fine. We help a lot. We have regional support, we have corporate support, we have loan support, support with the equipment manufacturers. I mean, we have a whole university from an education platform that's run by a guy named Craig Bevendonat, and we don't run it like a typical franchise, like sink or swim. Like, no, we're all in this together. We're in the same boat.
So I'd like to understand. Obviously, let's say you open 100 this year, great, but you don't strike me as a guy that likes to lose, and so you want to keep those gyms open. You're not just selling franchises. You want to open successful businesses. What is the profile of a successful franchisee? Like, what do you look for? Is it a personal trainer? Like, I've had a lot of talk. I speak to Anthony a lot at Expo about this. Is it a retired doctor that says, hey, I want to, like, what is the profile that makes this person successful? What do you look for? Because I got to imagine you got to probably decline a lot of people too that want to open this. And like you said, $2 to $3 million. You got to have a nice cushion also, working capital to run these businesses. So it's not like anyone could just take, a few $100,000 and open this. This is not like,
Well, not only that, but we don't let you buy one. I mean, you're going to buy 5 to 10. So you've got to be capitalized somewhere between 10 and $20 million to start. So what does that generally mean? It generally means you've either been successful in this industry or another industry. You understand how to write a business plan. You're strategic. You understand kind of the operating mechanisms of running any business. You understand people. We scrutinize our franchisees very heavily. Do we get it right every time? No. Some people are great at the first date, and they're terrible, the second date and beyond. But look, Ben Midgley, who runs the franchise company for me, has always said, I want to stay small to grow big. And when we sold the TPG in 2019, we had 115 franchisees. Today, 75, right? So we've actually reduced our franchise count to ensure that we can grow big. I'd rather manage 75 franchise groups and get them to as close to perfection as possible than have 300 of them. And then what you end up managing, if you've got 300, 20% are outstanding, and 80% you're spending a lot of your time, effort, and energy. So we scrutinize the franchisee really, really closely. And to answer your question, it's not a personal trainer who's looking for a job. I mean, personal trainers are great, but to transition from personal trainer to gym owner and understand tax, insurance, legal, real estate, building, construction, operations, sales, all those things, you've got to be a pretty gifted individual to be a franchise owner. This is not a turnkey absentee owner business. And people are probably going to cringe because I said that, like, you just turned off people who maybe want to be a franchisee, but they work on Wall Street. That's okay, because that's not what we're looking for. We want somebody who's investing in the system, investing in the brand, who understands the soulfulness and the culture of this brand. They should embody it as much as we do. Those are the ones that are just tearing it up. They're doing incredibly well.
How much do you at corporate play a role in the real estate side of this? I call you up, hey Jim, I want to open one on 76th and 2nd. No, Eddie, this is not the right. My parents want to open one in Wantagh, Long Island. Get the hell out! Like, are you saying sure or no? We are looking at the addressable market. We're looking at the like. Are you playing a role in the real estate side of this?
100%. So we're going to help you. We're going to help you scout. We're going to use third-party services to validate it. We've got 460 that have operated in the past. I can do a layover model on all of them to compare it to what this address is going to do. We do competition studies. We walk the sites with them. Ultimately, it's their decision, right? It's their decision ultimately. But we're going to help guide. We're going to create a professional relationship where hopefully they're taking our guidance, because the last thing I want to do is, have a crunch fail. Right? Because, and it generally fails because it's a poor location, right? It's the only crunches we've closed were ones that were under significant duress through COVID, where the government shut us down, where the lease ended after 5 or 10 years and we decided not to renew it, or where we made a really, really poor decision as the franchisor and the franchisee. But thankfully, knock on wood, there's only been a handful of those.
Erica, one last question, then we'll Let Jim get back to running his empire.
Yeah, I do have one more question. I mean, I actually have like 20 more questions for you, Jim, but I respect your time. I mean, just looking at your demographics and everything you told us today, I know you kind of keep the blinders on, stay focused on what you guys are doing, but the recovery angle of things, right? Like, given your demographic, I'm guessing longevity isn't a big trend in what you're doing, but you mentioned, old man stretching class, which outstanding. I love it. Count me in. I'm just about there.
Crunch Plus, you can go to Crunch Plus right now. You can take an old man stretch club.
Right. Awesome. What about recovery in all its modalities, right? All the things that are playing. Is that something you guys are going to be looking to incorporate? Because it seems to make a lot of sense. If you're a member of Crunch, you probably don't want to go to a second or third location of a different business to get all the recovery modalities, but it does seem to be a trend that's very popular in that demographic. So what are you guys looking at there?
Yeah, we've been working on this for years. We've had a relationship with Hyperice and Therabody for, I don't know, more than close to a decade probably. And so we had, we started with the guns and everything else. And then we had the different rollers. Then we moved to the compression. And in the last couple of years, you've seen an evolution of our relax and recover area, which was, when we started, it was like tanning and hydro massage. Now it's evolved into a lot of recovery, and you're going to see a whole suite offering through the next evolution. And Eddie asked me a question earlier, like, do you go back and do you have the gyms kind of catch up if they were open 10 years ago? And the answer is yes. So we do remodels, we do refresh packages, and it's part of the operating agreement with the franchisee. So recovery is a big part of it, and not necessarily. Look, 60% of our members are between 18 and 34, but the big thing with recovery isn't necessarily just healing; it's really allowing me to get back into the gym one more workout per week or two more workouts per week, and that's the angle that we look at it. Not necessarily for the old guy who's got to get the oxygen and the blood going again because he's aging, but for the young men and women that are pushing themselves really hard, it should be a big part of their whole plan, their nutrition plan, their supplement plan, their weightlifting plan, their cardio plan, and their recovery plan. We look at all the modalities.
Jim, I know I said the last question, but we'll say this is part B to what Eric said. How has this changed the role of the personal trainer? Even myself, right? I used to go to the gym. I go to the gym an hour, all weights. I don't even want to stretch, right? And then I'm taking a leave because I got pains everywhere. Now, breathing, recovery, stretching. If I come in and I meet with a personal trainer, is it, hey, can we do 30 minutes of weights? Then can we stretch for 15? Can we do recovery for 15? And is that the case? How are these trainers being re-educated to meet the demands of today's customer?
Yeah, that's another great question. And you're exactly right. The 50 minutes you spend with a trainer used to be a cardio warm up and then whatever your training modality was. Now it's really it's all the things you just talked about. It could incorporate stretching. It could incorporate breath work, right? Breath work has become incredibly important, right? So if you think about it, and we learned this in the Marine Corps years ago, and I actually brought a group in this year to work with the executive team, my top 60 employees, just to understand the benefits of breath work, right? Because we live in a world where you get a stimulus, right? And the stimulus could be positive, it could be negative. As soon as you get a stimulus, what happens? There's a thought, there's an emotion, and there's an action. And if you're not prepared, generally the thought, the emotion, and the action could be negative. So we started to train our team members about breath work. Just take that, they call it BAMO in the group that worked with us, and it was breathe and move on. So if you have the mental capacity just to take a quick breath before your thought, your emotion, your action, you're in control, right? So now what's happened with training? Breathing's become incredibly important for our overall mental wellness. So what we're seeing with the trainers is we're seeing stretching combined with Hyperice and Therabody products, also combined with a little bit of meditative work. Like, let's get prepared for this workout. Let's come down from whatever you just left. Let's say you worked in Manhattan. You got in at 8:45. You busted your ass. You spent $22 on a salad. You wolfed it down for lunch. Now it's 5:15. You got your appointment with your trainer. What does the trainer want to do? All right, let's get that heart rate up. Let's go. Blah, blah, blah. No. We're thinking about things a little bit differently. Let's get your mind ready and focused for what we're about to do, because we're going to put in some work. And that's going to include a workout, some cardio, and it's probably going to include some recovery in the form of stretching at the end. Or if you're tight, I'm going to use one of the Theraguns or the Hyperized products to kind of help you resolve that, so I can see you again tomorrow, right? It's all of this holistic stuff. It goes back to what I said earlier. We have all the information at our fingertips. Guess what? We're less active and more overweight than we've ever been. What do we got to do? We got to take the first step. We got to believe in the process.
Awesome. Well, Jim, thank you. This has been super informative. Really appreciate it. And I'm sure we'd love to have you back on in the not so distant future and get some updates. And, there's been talk of an IPO every once in a while out here. So yeah. Awesome.
Everybody asks the question, when are you going to IPO? And if we IPO, we'll be sure to let you know, but it's not my priority.
Why does everyone want to IPO? Well, I don't get it. The scrutiny, the nonsense, the bullshit. Why? The last thing I'd want to do.
Yeah, I agree. And
stay small, get big, or whatever.
I don't know if I'm the IPO type of CEO, right? Because I'm a bull in the china shop. I'm not. I do it through hard work and perseverance, and I just determination, and fortunately having a great team surrounded me who help me make good decisions along the way, so I don't break everything. But look,
this interview would be very different. You'd have a comms team. Well, Eddie, we are very excited about 24, and we plan to open about 20% more facilities this year.
Right. And by the way, just not to take any more time, you guys are good dudes. I appreciate the time today. If you want to have me back on because there's something interesting that I can provide, I'm happy to come back because you guys are all right, and I appreciate the time together. So look, there's a lot of shit we can talk about. Like I focus a lot on leadership, like really focus a lot of my time on leadership development. I've got a great marketing guy, and Molly Long, who runs she's my chief experience officer. And I got guys who run IT, and I've got great lawyers, and I've got Ben who runs my franchise system and everything else. What do I focus on? I focus on strategic vision and leadership, because those two things together and culture, right? I believe in, Drucker, who said, culture eats strategy for breakfast. If you don't have the right culture, just throw your strategy out the door, right? So I've got to focus on some of those harder things that aren't really initiatives, right? They become more philosophical. But you know what? I started this business when I was 24. The average age of the current team member is 24, right? What's changed is I'm 56. They're still 24. And everybody's like, oh, Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, Gen this. Bullshit. That young person today wants to know the same things about building an opportunity as everybody did in the 90s, as everybody did in the 80s. They want to know, what's the path? So I try to work a lot on helping them understand the path. And just like weight loss, just like building muscle and everything else, the path's not easy, right? You got to be very determined. You got to be focused. And you have to, everybody wants, I talk about this all the time. I'll finish with this. Everybody wants something. I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And I always ask them the same question over and over again. That's what you want. But what about your will? What do you mean my will? What are you willing to do in order to get that? Because until you define your will, you're never going to get what you want.
Jim, I work with this crazy coach, right? Most people quit after 3 months. We were working through, I sold my last company to Penske. Very hard for me to leave, to start all this again. He goes, Eddie, you're so good at goal setting. You got it. There's not a lack of will.
Right.
What are you going to willing to sacrifice, though?
That's right.
So I'm willing. You have no issue working 25 hours a day. No, but are you willing to I think that's the problem. It's like it takes 9 months to have a baby, no matter how bad you want it. You got to wait 9 months. There's no 5 months. There's no. I think there's this big illusion that everything comes faster than what it is. And the second I'm willing to sacrifice. These are my goals. I'm willing to invest this, sacrifice this, do this. It all becomes more digestible. The sacrifice is a big thing that people are not willing to do.
That's it, right? And, I've called it the Kardashian effect, right? And look, I don't know the Kardashians. I don't know how much they're involved in their business, but it seemed to come out of nowhere and be incredibly profitable into the billions of dollars with very little effort. That's how it's portrayed. Social media does the exact same thing. You know, like every other ad on social media is like, quit your day job and make $5,000 a minute, like being an influencer or whatever. It's bullshit. Like, so if what I'd really love to do is spend an hour with you guys talking about why that's happening. Why is that happening? What are we trying to do to the mental state of young people who are consuming that? And I've got a theory on what we're trying to do. But look, this started for me when somebody was like, can you talk to me about work-life balance? And I was like, no, there's no such thing. It doesn't exist. It's not a perfect it is not balanced. Sometimes you're great at home. Most of the time you want to be great at work. When you're great at work, you feel like you're not doing enough at home. When you're great at home, you don't feel like you're doing enough at work. Like you've got to either work in thirds and try to be great, or you've got to realize, you've got to be willing to accept that the sacrifice is you may not be great at home on some days or some weeks or some months because you're being great at work.
I would love to have a separate conversation on this because I speak a lot about this and it's very unpopular. It's very unpopular. I'm a little bit younger, so people, whatever. But like, I am fascinated with, like, I read all these documentaries and biopics and everything. And I don't care if it's David Beckham or Tiger, and I'm not saying that these people have perfect lives. These are a lot of these people have like fucked up lives. Their parents were crazy. They outworked everybody. Jordan would train, back in the gym. Mm-hmm. Why? Like, and to your point, like, and I think it's so interesting that this Gen Z despises the life their parents have. I don't want to do this. But yet they're living off their parents' dime. And yet, oh, you don't want to take the train an hour a day because your father never was home for dinner. That's why you're in the south of France right now blogging. So it's all crazy to me. And to your point, like, you spend, why does no one have a house anymore? Because you're spending $22 on salads and avocado toast and Pilates instead of saying, I'm going to save every dollar for a down payment. Priorities have shifted. And now we say, we need balance. I don't think anything's achieved in balance. Now, that doesn't mean I'm the happiest guy around or the healthiest guy around. But I think if you study any super successful person, they're not putting 8 hours in a day. Maybe they're putting 15 hours in a day. But
I don't know where we could stop because I could keep talking about this. I am obsessive about this. I work 7 days. I've made more money than I ever dreamed I was going to make. I've had bigger paydays than I ever dreamed. I'm a public school kid from a small town in the Bay Area who didn't have any path to college, joined the Marine Corps because I had a long history of Marines in my family. I busted my ass in the Marine Corps. Somebody said, hey, you're really good at this, got promoted, got to do some special stuff all over the world. And then I was like, man, you can't make a living. This is a life, but I can't make a living. I was making $33,000 a year, right? I had delusions of becoming a millionaire. What does that mean? I get out, I got to beg for a job to become a rookie sales guy. Nobody wanted to hire me. What the hell are you talking about? Missed a football game. I'm trying to make a living. I'm trying to make a life. I'm trying to do all these things. It's an obsession. And these kids, and look, I'm fortunate. My kids work hard. My kids work really hard. They're noble. They're grinding. I take my kid, my 25-year-old son goes on vacation with us to Hawaii. And I wake up at 3:30 in the morning. He's grinding out sales calls, 3:30 in the morning out on the patio in Hawaii, right? Just doing his grind. And then my youngest, who just graduated college in May, 22 years old, I couldn't have been more proud. She said, Dad, now that I'm working, I get it. And she said, thank you. Like I can't, now she's like saying, awesome. How did you pay for private school and vacation and do all these things? And now I put it together because you worked tirelessly and you still showed up. So there are kids out there who get it. And we try to put everybody in one basket, the social media Gen Z basket or whatever. I don't believe in that. Those people are corrupted.
Jim, very well said. We could certainly have a whole conversation on that topic alone. But in the meantime, I just want to thank you on behalf of Eric and myself and Athletech. Thank you for joining us today on Unscripted. And we hope you'll join us again in the future to talk all things fitness, wellness, and, of course, Crunch. Take care.